Hello and welcome to this week's episode of BeBelle podcast. I have an amazing guest today, Jennifer Rock, aka the Skin Nerd. If you're like me, I've followed her since the beginning. We talked about everything and I can't even believe that we finished so quickly because she's kind of amazing. We talked everything, business, the disasters, the successes, and her amazing life and her beautiful kid and her impending marriage. I thoroughly enjoyed it and I know you will too. Welcome to today's episode of BeBelle podcast. I'm so delighted to introduce you to the amazing Jennifer Rock.
Hello. That's a lovely welcome.
I am really excited, actually.
Are you?
Yeah, I am really
Why?
excited because you live in a world that I've loved for an awfully long time. I've watched you since Snapchat.
Oh my goodness. When I was laughing around in my onesies.
Absolutely.
I haven't changed much.
Yeah, no, because I had a beautician's back in the day, I think I said to you, and Renaissance, like, you know, you were always talking in that world. I used to stock Renaissance products. I'm still Yonka obsessed. Who can't live without the lotion? You must be mental.
Oh my God. Nothing like it.
So that's that's how I first found you. And then I remember like the Instagram, like starting to go, you know, into that Snapchat realm and everybody's like, shall we move? Shan't we move? And I just went with you. And so I've watched you for ages, but now I get to sort of ask you more about you, I suppose. And although you share a lot,
yeah,
there's loads I don't know.
Yeah,
so
that's so fair. And what do they say? Like Instagram or anything is just like a snippet or a glimmer of a person's life. And it's interesting because I suppose in a sense you portray potentially the best version of yourself or what you think is the best version, but then you're judged for that. Then I'm like, oh, there's so many other sides, or there's the more vulnerable side, or there's peaks and troughs that I choose. Everyone's different, but I choose to only show the good. Yeah. Because I love to go to social media for distraction or for education. So although who doesn't like to watch when somebody's not having a great day because you connect with them. Yeah. But yeah, quite conscious of what I put out there.
It's like watching Jeremy Kyle. It always makes me feel better.
Oh my God.
Do you remember the days?
Childhood.
Oh my God.
We weren't actually allowed to watch that at home.
Are we not?
Yeah, no, my parents were quite firm. It's a no.
I'm a little bit older than you, Jen. Just a little bit, but we won't go into that.
I don't know if you are.
I am. I definitely am, but I'll take that. Thank you very much. I'll put that in my pocket.
Take that to Renaissance. Team Yonka's for it.
Absolutely.
Hashtag not an ad.
Oh, Michael and Rose would love that.
They would.
But listen, let's start. We're going to go right back to the beginning.
Okay.
Like, where'd you come from? Where did it begin?
Where'd you come from? Where'd you go? Where'd you come from? Cat Nando. So I was raised in Dublin, still live in Dublin. And I was raised with honestly the most beautiful people, genuinely. Like mommy and daddy, I have to call them mommy and daddy. I'm like, I have to, because if I say mom and dad, I don't know who they are.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm nearly 40, but I still say mommy and daddy. So bear with me. So I was reared by them. I have a beautiful brother as well. And my parents, daddy has since passed, but my parents were the most in love couple. Not that it's competition, but just so insanely in love that you grew up with unrealistic expectations as to what relationships should look like. Like I genuinely believed that I was supposed to find like a Disney prince and all was supposed to do well. Like daddy used to write love letters to mommy every single Friday for 40 odd years of their marriage without fail, poetry from the heart. Even when he passed away suddenly. We found like letters he'd written in advance for her, not knowing he was going to pass, obviously, but just really simple. Like it wasn't a dramatic love. It was they'd dance in the kitchen, they'd hold hands, they'd snuggle. So I really am, especially now the older you get, you start to hear about other people's life experiences. I know how blessed I was to have had that as my not knowing any different.
And did they meet young? Were they first loves as well?
Yeah, I don't know. Definitely. I don't know. I'll get in trouble for this. No, so I know daddy had other girlfriends, controversial, but mommy had never really had another boyfriend. And they met doing charity work for St. Vincent de Paul. They're hugely into charity. They've always brought us into that as we were little. So they were together. I think they got engaged 6 weeks into their relationship, which if it happened now, it'd be social media taboo. Yeah. But they just knew, they said. And yeah, very much like one unit, solid pack. So when you grow up with that, I suppose because people have asked me over the years, like, why do you believe you took the risk to become an entrepreneur? And I do think that's always an interesting question for anybody like yourself. Yeah. Like, why the first one? Why the second one? Why the third one? Or whatever the case is. But for me, I suppose there was always, not that they financially supported me after a certain stage or age, but there's almost this, I don't want to say invincible because that's not true, but there's almost this like I had a sounding board to always go to and run things past. And it was just a very safe, solid love. What's that hierarchy? Is it Maslow's? Oh my goodness, what's the correct term? But essentially it's a triangle. It's all about security. You should know this, right?
I was just looking at me. I'm like, my brain, I'm 52. I don't have a brain anymore.
You do.
Have no clue what you're talking about.
So there's basically a hierarchy, and the point of it is if you feel safe, secure and loved,
absolutely,
everything else can come from there.
Yeah. And what did your parents do? Was there entrepreneurism in the family?
Yeah, interesting. I know Mommy was a banker and Daddy, she gave up work until we were about 12, as would have been the norm in the 80s. And she went back to work when we were in secondary school, myself and my brother. There's not many years between us. And then my dad worked in the legal realm his whole life. And then when he retired, he set up his own company. So I wouldn't have been exposed to entrepreneurship at all. Quite the opposite. My parents were totally allergic to the idea of me having my own business because they would have rathered a good state pensionable
I was going to say, because their jobs were stable.
So stable.
Very stable jobs. It's strange, isn't it, how we can go one way or the other?
Completely. And I panicked them. But I still am to this day the unusual child. My brother is very like them, and then I'm just the wild card.
Are you the first or second?
I am the first.
You're the first. The way she said that, I am the first.
In every way, because I said that, I'm like, my favourite child, Secure, my favourite daughter. So,
okay.
Yeah.
That's
because
so
she's
nice.
a boy and there's literally only two of us, so she can only have one of each.
Bless. My mum's not got a house. There's 5 girls.
Really?
End of.
Yeah, how'd you answer that one?
Yeah, I get answered.
Are you the eldest?
Yeah. I'm the second eldest.
Okay.
But I've worked away now. I actually, in the first episode of this series, I interviewed my nieces.
Okay.
And I managed to clip, I asked, who's your favourite auntie? And I managed to get one of them to say Auntie Sean. Now I have that clip forever.
You can use it as you like.
Absolutely.
Do you know what? I'd love to get my mom on a podcast because she's been so crucial to all of my career. Because I had Matthew so young, so I suppose I grew up in that space. And then I was a bit of a rebellious child. I think I got all my devilment out as a teenager. So I became pregnant at 17. This is not me endorsing it, but this is what happened. And I was just a devil. I really was a devil. Because Mom and Daddy are very, even to this day, if say we're parking here today outside, I'll go to the nearest car parking space to the door. Mommy will go to the very end where there's no one. Everything is just
so she can get right into the lines.
Yes, 100%. She'll reverse in because that's obviously the safest way to do it because you can just drive straight back out. She's just like an exemplary human in society. Okay. And then along came Jennifer. So I did give them, we were only talking about this the other day over dinner, I gave them a lot of heart attacks over my teenage years, just pushing the boundaries. And
but did that start? What were you like as a young child? As a 3-4-year-old, we go to school in the UK, and I had my place.
Yes.
So could they see that you were a leader at that point? Did you enjoy school when you were young?
I loved school for society, for social reasons. Loved it. Yeah. Genuinely loved it. I wouldn't have been I did well academically, but I wasn't inclined to, it depended on the topic, as with anyone. If you enjoy it, you'll thrive at it. So I was definitely a nerd. I like to overachieve. I like to have the most dramatic, if we had to do an environmental studies, I remember this. Mommy still has these copies at home. But the way your normal page, your 2-page copy.
Yeah.
And I used to stick pages out the end so that on Wednesday I could show, but I do it for hours, meticulously obsessed. So maybe I need to look back at myself, but I did love doing well. And I loved to, if we did gymnastics competitions, I did a lot of solo sports, but I like to do quite well. And then I did ballet. There's a meme on social. Have you seen it? So example, it's a beautiful photograph of 5 little girls. There's 4 that are doing a beautiful pose. And then there's the 5th one upside down looking absolute batshit crazy. Yes. So I get sent that quite regularly by my friends when they come across it. I think that explains my childhood. I just loved life. I loved pushing the boundaries. I wasn't cheeky, but I would love a little. I just
push it.
Yeah, and I chat to all the parents. Mommy thinks back. She's like, you spoke to your friends' parents more than I would. You'd be chatting about what I don't know. I just love people, I suppose.
Yeah, but you were learning.
Always in some way.
Yeah. Learning. I was the adult. I always wanted to speak to adults as well. I grew up in a pub though. So,
oh, wow, okay.
So I was always speaking to adults. I was always learning, but I wasn't academic as such, but I had loads of knowledge.
It's just life. It's life and experience.
But you like to do well, you said. So did you like to do well? I like to do well as well, but I liked my teachers praising me.
Okay.
I'd like to know that I did well.
Yeah, and when you look back now, oh my goodness, I could literally, this isn't the truth, but like I feel like I could be a counsellor at this stage because I've gone through so much CBT, life coaching, counselling, psychologists. So I always go back to like, why did I need that validation at a little stage? Because I was so loved at home. Like there was nothing like that. I really am so grateful. There was nothing untoward at home that then meant in school I had to feel. I don't know. There was always something inside that I needed. I did need some sort of validation, or maybe it was encouragement, but it was more of a confidence piece, I suppose. I did get teased quite heavily in secondary school, so that probably knocked me for six for a while. Like I'm 5'2", so I was 5'2". I probably wasn't the most petite of people. I wore glasses. I had lots of spots. I had the fringe. And I said this recently to someone, and it's generally the truth. I used to put a sticker in the middle of my forehead. And like I know that's obviously a religious piece now, but back in the 90s. I always wanted to have a creative flair. But like, I just looked, I mean, if you looked, like I could see photos and I'm like, okay, you're a funny little fish, Jen. Keep going. But I obviously was somewhat confident in myself just to rock around looking like that. Like stickers everywhere. Now kids do glitter and the whole lot. But in the night, I used to get in trouble in school all the time for it.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. But again, I wonder if that's rebellion. I really don't know.
Did you stick to a group when you were at school? Because I always or did you pop around different groups?
Yeah, so my hen is actually in 6 weeks' time, and all the people coming on my hen, we're going abroad, are my school friends. Some from like baby infants, like so junior school, and then some are from secondary school. But I always had different pockets of friends.
Yeah.
I still do. Do you?
Yeah, I do. And obviously I've moved a lot. But over the years, I've made them all become friends.
Oh, go away. I love that.
I used to find when I used to visit home, I'd be like, I'd have to go and meet so-and-so at 12, so-and-so at 3. And in the end, I'd say, I'm just going to be here at 1 o'clock and make everybody go to the same place. Yes. So actually, it was lovely when I got married. Everybody knew each other.
Yeah, that is gorgeous.
Because over, the 24 years that I've lived here, they've just had to get over it.
Yeah.
but I like that.
But there's obviously commonalities. If your friends can be friends, I feel there's like a common theme, and that's how I feel. So I actually have, and again, through my career, because my career is so much of my life to the point that I have to really be careful I don't let it become my identity. That definitely happened, especially with the skin nerd, because I'm now like, I was on the street yesterday, or where was I? I don't know. Somebody's like, skin nerd. I'm like, oh, it's Jennifer, but I don't correct people because obviously that's how they know me. But having a moniker means that you're then positioned as that person always. And I'm like, oh, I'm actually Jennifer that owns the company, the Skin Nerd. But going back to the point that I suppose with friends, I can see that I've loads of different little pockets, but they're now all in their own little WhatsApp groups and their gangs, and they meet up themselves. And then I get FOMO, but that's a whole different conversation because I'm like, sorry, I'm working too much. Can I go? But yeah, no, so same as you, have lots of different pockets of people.
I do that sometimes. Well, she was originally my friend, actually.
Yeah.
I spent far too much time with her. Yeah, absolutely. What's going on here? So you enjoyed school. Yeah. And then I suppose, we get to that age here, I suppose, where you have to start picking what you think you'd like to do. Did you know what you want to do? I haven't met anybody yet that did.
Genuinely, 100%. And I actually have this fight. So my son is 20, going on 21. He's in college at the moment. He's studying a degree, ironically, in entrepreneurship, right? Okay. It's basically a business degree. But I think it's bloody amazing because not only is it like business, accounting, economics, it has this whole leadership and module where you are, I suppose, it's almost, I feel like, I keep mentioning counselling. I feel like it's counselling because you have to look into yourself to be the best version of a leader, I believe. And so he's coming home with all these questionnaires at 20, go like, I don't know what the answer to this is. And I'm like, I'll do it for myself. Because I've lived more, so you've more to gain from it. But yeah, essentially, the question that you asked me that brought me down that path was what?
Yeah. Whoa, sorry. What, did you know what you wanted to do? Did you have any idea? Okay.
Yeah. Genuinely did. And the reason I said that to you is my son gives out stink to me the whole time because he's like, you don't understand, because he really doesn't know what he wants to do, which is why he's doing such a broad degree. And he's like, you really don't get it like you did know. So from 12, going back to that kind of, stickered, teenaged, hair-cutted, interesting little person, I didn't have great skin. It wasn't, if there was a child now with the skin I had, I would send them to a doctor. But you're talking in the 1990s where it just wasn't a conversation. You didn't have, we didn't have Boots in the Republic of Ireland then. First time I came across skincare was going over the border with my mom on a girly day out. I can still smell the cucumber. I think it wouldn't have been number 7. That wasn't even around back then. No,
it's Boots' original cucumber. Yeah. I still use that cleanser.
Look at that cleanser. I love it. Still exists.
Yeah, it still exists.
I don't know if I could use it. That's like nostalgia.
I think I used to buy it was like 39p or 59p.
Really affordable.
But I always have, I'd smell it Just to smell it.
Yeah.
Because it was the first thing I ever used too.
Yeah, soda wet cleanser. So we're on the same page. So that's when I really genuinely fell in love with it. And I didn't have the language then, but now looking back, it was a control piece for me. I loved the time to myself. I felt it helped my skin. I was just so curious. And then for TY, so transition year, I went and did actually on Monica Tolan's, do you know Karina Tolan?
Yeah.
Her mom was so kind to me. So where daddy perhaps wanted me to go more the legal route and mom wanted to go the banker route, right? We all know why, because that was their professions, which it just wasn't my personality.
Yes.
I would have perhaps have had the academics to do it, but maybe not the ability to sit still and be that composed for that length of time. So and now ironically I deal with banks all the time and solicitors all the time. So it does go full circle. So I do absolutely respect
good
them.
to have that in your pocket.
Oh my goodness. And I've had that baseline to have understood it most of my life. But ultimately I did work experience there where I could have cotton wool and, really had to convince my parents that this was a good career. So out of sheer determination, continued to work in salons for free throughout 4th, 5th, 6th year.
Okay.
And I suppose I was probably doing it again just to like truly show them, but I definitely showed myself at that stage. But you're talking beauty, as you well know, before there was skincare as beauty. So you did facials, you did eyelash tints, you did eyelash perms, you did your nails. You didn't there's nothing like a shellac or a gel. It was just like old school file and polish. And I'm really, really delighted. I'm sure, I don't know if you feel the same. I loved that I trained at that stage because I see that it's a traditional part of beauty. And, went to college where you had to wear your hair in a bun every day. You had to wear the ballet pumps. You hated them. You learned, what was it called? The plumb line. And you had to figure out if someone had...
And where did you train?
I went to what would have been senior college, Dunleary.
Okay.
So
Dunleary.
did three full-time, full years. And even again, Matthew's teasing me, my son, saying, like, you don't understand. I'm like, Matt, my college was 40 hours. Like, it was best part of 40 hours. It's intense. He's there doing his 10 hours waddling around. And he's like,
I think it's mad.
So hard. I'm like, it's not. You're getting a degree and you're doing 10 hours a week. But anyway, loved it.
And I... I've said this to probably a million people over the years. When I took over my beauticians in 2008, the first thing I did was I went and booked in and I went and trained at Galligan's. And I had a completely different understanding of the beauty industry. I could run a business.
Yes.
And I was never going to wax a leg, probably. And actually, I never did.
Did you never?
No.
Apart from the course?
Apart from the course.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to learn about the business.
Well, it gives you a better understanding and insight.
But it also gave me a massive respect for beauticians because it's first year nursing. I remember going, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's a lot.
This is really hard.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Loved it. But it's, people underestimate actually the physiology and anatomy that you need to understand to be able to look after people properly. I loved that time.
And the client care, I'd say you loved that side of it. But there is definitely... I said this to somebody recently, like they're like, is there a Jennifer at home and a Jennifer in work? I'm like, but everybody has a telephone voice to a degree. So it's not that I'm a split personality, but in work I'll be slightly more composed, or like in a salon you'd be like, come with me. Whereas at home you wouldn't be like to your son, come with me for dinner, like dinner now. Like of course there's going to be difference, but I do think you learn the absolute fundamentals. And I will get in trouble for saying this, but there's a part of me that's slightly saddened that it's being lost. I can see it myself. My favourite thing in the world to do is to go to a spa, just to lie there and have someone rub me. It's not for the ingredients or anything. It's just like, just rub me. Yeah. And I'll never name anything, but sometimes I am disappointed because I'm like, oh, that's kind of the basics, is how to engage, how to interact, how to make me feel like welcomed and calm. Like those basic customer care pieces.
I think I feel sometimes when I go to a spa that they feel like they're intruding on my time, but actually I'm going because I do want you to interact with me.
Yeah.
Like I always say, like I'm bought in before I arrive. I booked it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And you know from a customer, you feel it very quickly if someone wants to have a sleep or but I want to give them the information. I want the best for myself. And they're the professionals, so I want them to do that for me.
I do love when they give you an option to tick a box that would you like to talk or would you not? I would not. Not that I don't love you, but I have so much noise in my brain all day. This is just bliss.
Sometimes though I want to talk as well though.
I'm shocked. You want to talk. I mean, I wouldn't have known.
But I want to know all about the product.
Yeah,
like I'm obsessed with products, so I do want to know about stuff. So I'm like, sell it to me. I want to know because I'm taking it home. Like I'm like their favourite person. But
you're a marketeer's dream.
Oh, I am, and I love it. But
my team, because I have my head of CS, I think she loves me and loathes me at the same time because I really we were doing an event there 2 weeks ago. And so we'll always have our prep call and kind of our pre, and I'm like, it's not, and I mean this kindly, right? It's not that the customer is always right, because sometimes they aren't, but it's how your body language is. So even we have some interns, beautiful interns, and they're from a marketing realm. So then I'm trying to teach them like how to have a little bit of tactile if the client is open to it, how to engage with the eye, how to not do it for too long, and it sounds so basic because we've been reared with it. But for somebody coming from a computer and a degree, they're like, oh, right. And I can see it when it's reading the energy and the vibe, and there's so much. But Aoife's always like, Jennifer, I think they know now. Like, I think, and my nerds, they're a qualified therapist. They're honestly, I'm completely biased, but they're stellar people. Yeah. And they've been in the sector as long as you and I, like 20 odd years. So they're just so seasoned. But I really believe our job, especially in skincare, is usually like what you're saying about the spa. People are coming because they unfortunately don't feel great in themselves. It's very rarely I want to learn how to wash my face. It's usually, I don't like my lines, my wrinkles, my redness, my pigment. I feel dehydrated. I don't like what I see. Like we have such hard things to read. So on the consult side of life, this is coming back, I promise. But on the consult side of life, we've had 60,000 clients pass through our virtual doors since we launched in 2017, I think it was. And so people write in, like we ask them, why are you here? And how do you feel about your skin? And that's my favorite question, because feeling is obviously their opinion. It's not what I see. Because I look at your skin and say, beautiful. Maybe we need to address 1, 2, 3. But with most people, they have a list as long as their arm, which is hard to read. And then they'll tell you, honestly, how shitty they feel in themselves. And I'm like, that's what we're here to do though. We're not actually here to talk about, yes, of course, we'll talk about SPF and why it's so important, and hyaluronic and peptides and vitamin A and retinols, whatever. But it's if you can help them go from A to B and feeling like where they do like a shit point, and then less shit to less shitty, to like that's the magic of skincare. Like that's the magic. And trying to teach that to people and then pass it on. That's the beautiful part. So I stood back from this event 2 weeks ago and I watched it unfold, and I was like, this is probably one of my proudest moments. It was nothing to do with the numbers, nothing to do, like we had hours of queues, which was unreal, as in the support people want to give us is incredible. But my team just, I think, I'm sure someone messaged me today saying, well, I didn't feel like that. But from what I could see, a lot of people felt just heard and valued leaving. And I'm like, that's the imprint we want to leave.
And it's not easy to do that. You know, I'm a qualified coach. She's going to go, Jesus Christ, Sean, what else do you do? I was telling her.
This LinkedIn profile. Like, oh my God.
But I qualified as a coach during COVID because I know lots of people have the answer in them.
Yeah.
And a good coach actually draws that answer from them.
Yeah.
You know, and it is that thing about, you know, why are you not happy with that bit? Let's find out the reason why. But that's a real gift. So you are passing that downwards to your team, and they are passing that to them.
They teach me so much as well, though. And because we do so much online, that was a huge transition, as you can imagine, from a therapist, I suppose, having done your qualification and being the business side. It is different. Like there's different skills in every sector. But when I'm so used to being so tactile with people and leaning on that to show comfort, support and, you know, connection, and then to bring it all to online. Like I say to every nerd that comes through for an interview, because I do the last kind of, will they fit the culture? Yeah. We call it an interview. So they've done their interview, but then at the end they have what's called an interview, where they can ask us everything they want, and they get to meet other team members they'll liaise with that's peer to peer. So, because I can tell you we're amazing, but your colleague, your future colleague, potential future colleague will tell you, well, actually run for the door or whatever. So we do that, and it's not recorded, and I have no idea what's said. And then people still come. So that's always a good side, right? But yeah, ultimately, I suppose it's trying to find the why and why people are there. But they teach me so much, because in a virtual capacity, it's almost harder to make that connection with people. Yeah. Because we do so many Zoom consultations. But then the other side of it is people feel they can be really raw, because they have
a little bit of protection.
A little bit, yeah.
However, I still feel energy through that screen.
Yeah, you can do.
100%.
If you make a connection, 100%.
Yeah, I really believe that. So for someone that, like, because I didn't know what I wanted to do, and like that's why I just change my mind still every 6 months.
But it's all evolving and leads you to here.
Absolutely. But when you decide and you know, like, and then obviously, so you're 17. You decided what you want to do, and then you get pregnant. Does that, what happens then?
It was really tough, I'm not going to lie. I didn't realise, bear with, right? So obviously you're pregnant for about 40 weeks. I really didn't realise I was having a child until the minute Matthew was born.
Okay.
So I didn't drink, I didn't do anything. Like, so I really minded him, don't get me wrong, because I never wanted him to hear these back in the future. Like, am I okay? You are. And he was loved. Like, I adored him. He and I were like this safe little cocoon, but it wasn't the happiest place to be. It was quite a judgment, not home, but like it was a judgmental space, you know, comments on the street and whisper and the taboo and people perhaps on, because I wasn't driving at that stage, as you can imagine. So, you know, people on the bus making comments about, you know, and I'm disappointed, or in your situation, or your disgrace. So there's a lot to deal with that perhaps I was focused on that. Okay. And then I remember Matthew being born 10, 11, 10, 14, God, I got that wrong, 10, 14. I have to text him every single year, 10, 14. And AM on the 1st of December. And we'd only left school, so we'd only finished school in the June, let's say, and he was born in the December, and everyone came in to visit. It's a little bit hazy because it's so long ago, but also I think your memory kind of shields you from things. But everyone came in to visit him, like his dad, my parents, his like both our siblings, and everyone left. And I rolled over, and there was this. Honestly, he looked like a little monkey. Like I call him monkey to this day, like just a little beautiful chichi monkey. And I remember rolling over, and he was swaddled, and I shat myself. I was like, I can still feel it. And I love you, Matthew Rock, if you ever do hear this. But in that moment, I was like, oh, this is why people were slightly worried about what my future would be. And Mommy and Daddy had always described it as they kind of greed for the life that they thought that I'd have. And I could understand that. It's like, what do you mean? It's grand. Like, I'm healthy. He's well. We're good. Let's go. But that's kind of my philosophy in life. I'm like, there's always a way. Let's move. What's the plan? How do we do this? Let's get there. What's the end goal? Right, let's figure it. Like, that's how I work. So obviously that was alive at 17 and 18. I was 18 by the time he was born. But yeah, it was definitely tough. And then, but I really did. And I'm not just saying this to like make it sound better. I had the most amazing support. It wasn't easy emotionally. Mommy and Daddy definitely found it hard. But Mommy gave up work, took a career break from the bank for the first year to be at home. So I always say, Mom, like Matt, because I now live with my female partner. So Matt now has 2 moms again. I was like, but you're kind of brought into the world with 2 moms because your nana was like your second mom, and you had your dad and the whole lot. So it was really tough because I wasn't mature enough to understand what was going on. I couldn't be. And now when Matthew turned 18 2 years ago, I cried myself to sleep that night because I could see what he didn't know. And then I'm looking at me, thinking back on, oh God, I can see why my parents were so unsure for me. But the positive spin on that, after I got myself up and at it a couple of years later, because it did take a good few years to get myself together, is I think it took me a while to realise I'm a parent and what a parent truly meant. Whereas perhaps if you're, just going to say my age now, in your mid-30s, and you really have decided to have this child, or maybe you haven't, but like you're kind of long enough in the tooth to know what a pillar of a parent is. Yeah. I just didn't know then. So all I could give him was love. It's really all I had. I hadn't got a bean to my name. It's just out of school. But I was very lucky that Mommy and Daddy still support the beauty college piece. So I would go to college from 8 till about 4, and then I would go straight to work. I used to work in Claire's Accessories, and they were brilliant for teaching you for retail, because you can't. Could you ever go to that shop? And would you like to get another earring? No, I've just chose this earring because that's all I want.
What about a steriliser?
Yeah. Oh my God, how many children's ears I pierced is insane. But yeah, looking back, I wouldn't ideally do that again because I was away from that for so long. But how else was I supposed to pay for the nappies? Yeah. And I also said, like, I was supposed to pay for myself to go through college.
From the father as well? Or
yeah, his dad's always been to this day. Fabulous. They're still like, sure, they went to watch a Liverpool match there together a couple of weeks ago. And like, his dad, we haven't been together since he's been born. I think we broke up like when he was 3 weeks old or something. Another ideal scenario when you're 18, pregnant, and now single. But yeah, look, life has a funny way of turning out. Now my womb is not a happy place, and it would be quite difficult for me to become pregnant if I chose to do so. I literally got told by my gynae about 2 months ago, you're really lucky you have your son. Wow. And like, I felt like that for a long time, but then to hear it from anatomy physiology, like a doctor's perspective, I'm like, he was supposed to happen when he happened. Yeah. But maybe at the time. Yeah. Maybe at the time it wasn't. But he knows that, and we talk about it so openly. Yeah. So openly. Like, you're the best surprise I've ever gotten. Or you're the best thing I've ever made. He's like, you're not a great chef though, Mum. Come on. Like, it's not like there's so much to compare it to. Rude. Oh, bless him.
Oh, that's lovely. I love it. And so, obviously, I mean, great support. Your mum and dad obviously have a massive impact on you throughout your life. But when do you decide, I suppose, you've gone into the beauty industry, you finished college, where was the first place you worked? Seabody products are powered by the most amazing marine bioactives and rejuvenated properties that deliver transformative results for all skin concerns. Be that reducing wrinkles, increasing firmness in the skin, or improving your skin's texture. Ticking every box for me, it has to be said. Every element has been considered when it comes to this Seabody range of skincare and supplements. They are plant-based, cruelty-free, and, more to the point, super luxurious. My favourite 2 products, has to be said on a personal level, are the Elixir Serum. Absolutely love it. I also love their eye cream and also their fabulous Glycan Moisturiser. Thank you so much, Seabody, for supporting the BeBelle podcast.
Oh my goodness, I worked in a spa like at the back of the airport, still there. And it was my first experience with a brand that I think you might be familiar with, which is Yonka.
Oh, yeah.
And just fell in love with facials.
Yeah.
Fell in love, head over here with facials. Like, again, my competitive streak, come out during college and I'm a good waxer. I'll lash every little bit of tint. I'll get it down to the root because I always try to do the best I humanly can. The facial side of life took me over.
There's nothing like it though. No. And I can't think of a better product house to have been introduced because, I mean, I know from like training with them, you know, I'd just be like, well, I'm an energy giver and I'm an energy stealer. So when I was at college, if someone was sick on my bed, I would fall asleep in the middle of a facial because I'd take all their bad energy.
Imagine you in a treatment room. Whoop, God.
Oh, no, seriously.
Sorry, you're sick.
I'd just give them a headbutt or something. So I was like, this isn't for me. However, like, the minute someone's hands are on me, and especially like, you know, all the smells and everything, I'm gone. I'm asleep. I'm gone. I don't know what's going on. It's heaven.
It is heaven. And I think I had quite a young looking face I would have been 21 by the time I qualified, to be fair. And I don't know, there was definitely a few people that I remember one particular client said she didn't want me because she would rather someone more seasoned. And look, understandable to a degree. Maybe the way she said it probably hurt. But I was like on a mission that I was going to make sure this woman got the best fucking face she's ever had in her whole entire life. So there's always that bit of gusto. And then I really built up a really strong clientele. And there was like the young little one. What's that I was called? Young little one. And Renaissance again, Yonka were so kind to me. So I had trained at Dermalogic and that in college. But then Yonka was my first, I think it was like 4 days training. I just thought this was like heaven. And then years later, circled back to working for Renaissance, for Yonka as a trainer. Then went to train with the actual ateliers of so basically the owners of Yonka in France, in a beautiful spa in Paris. And I'm like, it can come, it can come full cycle. But just have so much respect for it. But I think I've I've always loved every part of our sector. Once it's within the skin aesthetic realm. I love getting LVL done. I love getting my brows fee-browed. I love all of it. I love receiving it. But if you ask me to do Biab on you right now, I'd be like, how much do I have to pay you to not let me do it? I don't know. It's such a skill. I don't know how they do it. Like, it's so detailed.
I wasn't a big nails girl, and actually, the worst ever is eyelash extensions.
They just
oh God, I just don't have the patience.
You need a lot of patience.
No,
it's the spreading of them. I never quite mastered that.
Yeah,
but I've tried a lot.
So the skin obsession, like, just gets larger as your time goes on, But how do you know when you want to take the leap from working for someone? And because it's not, you know, it's quite scary for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. And I suppose when I think back, I had started a product called the Cleanse Off Mitt when I was still saving for my house at the time. So bearing in mind, obviously, as you said, it was tough to get going. More that, you know, I didn't have anything to give to Matt, as I said, and I just could give him me, I suppose, and love. But I was adamant that we'd get our own house. It just took so much longer than I ever would have anticipated. And back to what you said about beauty and going back to Galligan's and seeing it. And I stand so strongly on this. It's such a hard sector to make enough money to be a single parent to get it. It's just hard, and it's so unfair because I just think they're so talented. However, that was my reality for most of my 20s. Just couldn't get the money together to be able to get a deposit. I was with a partner for my whole 20s, really. Anyway, basically, eventually got, I was working in London, skin scanning, and I was meeting so many clients from so many different parts of the UK, which I always think, as you know, growing up in the UK, you meet so many different types of people, so many characters, and it just gave me a crash course training in skin that I think it would have taken me a lot longer in Ireland to have gained, to be honest. And I just really got annoyed that people weren't washing their face. Like, that's the bottom line, genuinely. And sorry, annoyed is wrong. Well, I was annoyed because I was like, I had the same client for so long. I was like, I've literally told you, stop spending your money on this. Like, just wash your face. And so I realised that people weren't washing properly. And that was what the Cleanse Off mitt boiled down to. So it's a really handy, lightweight mitt. It takes your makeup off when you're tired and fatigued and, you know, flights or whatever. But you know this, like, I'll go back to facials. Like, as a facialist, you always have to, like, the removal of a product from the face is nearly as important as the application. And when I used to be a beauty teacher, so I used to teach in Bronwyn Conroy's, and like our job was to make sure that we go around to the cotton pad. Do you remember this? And you'd go up into the hairline, corner of the nose, into the crow's of the chin and under. Because removal is so important, because if you don't remove properly, then it kind of negates the benefits of the serums or whatever else steps are coming. So I am obsessed with cleansing, not over cleansing, just doing it properly and doing it once or twice max. And anyway, point is, Cleanse Off mitt launched, and and people know this story, so I won't go into it too long if they've ever heard my story before, but it was just an absolute disastrous fail, because I ignorantly thought, everyone needs one, so everyone's just going to buy one. Yeah. Like, hello, the word marketing didn't exist in my brain. I didn't know what a margin was. I didn't know what contracts really meant. Like, I'd always heard Daddy talk about them as I was growing up, obviously, but not what it would mean or the impact of it. So I just went simple, straight in. And unfortunately, it didn't succeed. But I was left with lots and lots of stock. But I was also left with I had swapped, like, I basically used the money we'd saved for the house for the stock. So we then delayed getting the house, which was obviously, I found that really hard for Matthew more than anyone, because he didn't have his own home, and and I know we're lucky to have a home, and I know everyone doesn't have one, but at that stage, that's all I wanted for him. I couldn't bring friends over to the house. We lived with my partner's family, and they were so kind to us, but I didn't feel like I could bring his little friends over, or birthday parties always had to go out. I just wanted to have our space. Yeah. Anyhow, so to fast forward it then, when I started working for Renaissance, this is like not an ad for Renaissance, by the way.
So was the cleanser mitt before? I know.
Yeah, it was.
So can I think this is really important for people to hear, that it didn't work, because I thought it worked. Like, I'm always saying to clients, they'll be like, and there's someone listening to this now that's got a range or something. They're bringing out a cleansing mitt, and they've just sold 1,000 and they've made a penny on them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's not working. But I think it's really important for people to hear it, because
that it goes wrong.
Yeah, because from social media, I would have said it was amazing. Do you know what I mean? I still have a couple of them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, Macaulay's, I think.
They're so kind to us as a stockist.
They're amazing for Irish brands. But lots of times that thing of comparison, people will say to me, I'm thinking about bringing out a cleansing cloth, and I'm like, how much do you know about it? Do you know the history of this? Oh, I haven't done that yet. Yeah. What's your margin? Can you actually wholesale it? Or, well, I can sell it to somebody and I can make 50. No. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
So that's really interesting. I didn't know that.
I was an absolute. Sorry. I'll go into it for a little bit more then, because it is an important story. You're right. So when I launched it originally, it did really well. Yeah. But I'll tell you the funny part. So I went to a particular distributor, and they were so kind. They gave me loads of advice. They're like, this won't work until you do I had no barcode on the product. Okay. Come on. Like A, B, C, D, Jennifer. Now, but not then. I was like, it looks lovely. It explains what it does. In my head, it was just as simple as everyone needed it. Right. Anyway. And so it did so well that they rang me, and they're like, you need to put about 15 grand into marketing. And I was like, sorry, what now? Yeah. 15,000 euro. I was like, Jesus, mother of the Lord, that's like my deposit. Like, what? So I said I didn't believe I needed to. It was Twitter. This is like pre-Facebook. Okay. This is Twitter days. Trina McCarthy still teases me for this, because do you know that, and if you love it, just forgive my analogy, but you know that god-awful Christmas stuff you get for your table? Like, and it says like Merry Christmas, and it's like the most unsustainable thing ever.
Like
Pat Kane would kill me for it. Yes.
Yes. We don't use that, Pat.
No, we don't use that, Pat. Thank you. But I, at the time, got blue envelopes to match Cleanse Off mitt, got those little pieces of plastic saying Merry Christmas, and wrote them a Christmas card saying like, please use your mitt. And that's what I thought marketing was. I didn't understand. Okay. I just didn't understand what the word really meant. Anyway, the point was I opted not to do it, and they saw an opportunity and they created their own mitt. Now, I'm not the first person in the world to create a mitt. I really haven't. I was the first in Ireland, the UK, to make it so affordable, because the competitors at that stage were the 20 odd euro mark. Yeah. And I'm thinking, these are baby wipe users at that stage. It was very much take people off baby wipes. And so our face wipes, which were like £2, £3, £4, £5 max. So I was like, right, if something's like a fiver, then that's probably more comparable than this €20 piece. That's where it really came from. And when they had ordered 20,000 units, and no joke, the day it landed, because it takes time for it to get here, the day it landed, they rang to say, we've actually made our own. We're going, and I'd never signed a contract or anything. So I was like, I've just spent years saving for our house, took the gamble because it was doing so well, gave our deposit into the Mitts, thinking that I maybe could get Matthew a nicer home. Like that was all, I was obsessed with our home. And it was just a huge learning. So when I tell you that I always ask for a brief and I always look for a contract, it's generally the truth, because to wounded is an understatement. But another funny story is when I went to collect those 20,000 Mitts that I know where to go now, because I was like, I can't do this again. Like I have to prioritise family and I have to go back and dust myself off and save from scratch again. I remember turning up to Dublin Airport. I think I drove a Volkswagen Golf or something at the time. So not a big car. Yeah. Like it's a grand car, right?
20,000 of them.
Yeah. So I'm turning up going, oh, they're only this size. Pallets, right? And they're like, I'm going to impersonate someone. They're like, all right, love, no, where's the truck? And I was like, this is it. Like, when I tell you I knew nothing.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's brilliant.
You do have to laugh now.
Yeah.
Because you've no choice. Yeah. But when I go from there to here to now, I'm like, Jesus, it really has changed. Like we're so lucky. Like we manufacture all across the globe. We move millions of units, like from here to here to here. And it's kind of surreal when you think of where it started.
How did you go from that? Did you get yourself a mentor? How did you go from knowing nothing? I mean, obviously you're learning. Do you think? That you're really learning, like, do you know what I mean? But did someone make an impression on you, give you a hand, tell you the right moves?
I learned an awful lot from being in business. I suppose I tuned into the business side more then.
Yeah.
And I do find that side really interesting. Like now every day on my calendar, one of the first things I do is read CEW, New York Times. They have like a kind of a lifestyle section. Like there's loads of beauty business pieces that I read. I find that fascinating, like genuinely. And thankfully I do, because it's not like I have to learn it because I have to learn it. But yeah, I suppose I learned a lot by osmosis. And then when I started doing a lot on, it would have been TikTok, as you said, or not TikTok, what's it called? Oh my God, there's too many channels. Snapchat.
Oh yes.
When I started doing that again, and people were buying products that I was recommending around me, and Mommy and Daddy, and this is like, people said to me recently, like, is this a PR story? And I was like, it's really just actually how it happened, which is why I want to get my mom onto a podcast, because Mommy can't lie. Just lady will not. Whereas I'd be like, let's be a bit flahulak with. No.
Back up in 2 weeks. Get it booked in. That'd be a lovely series, actually.
Yeah, she wouldn't.
The mum's off.
The mum's off, yeah. She's such a lady. But no, as in I'd be slightly dramatic with stories. So people are like, is that the truth? I'm like, no, but this is the truth. So basically she had boxes of those Mitts in my old bedroom and Matthew's old bedroom. And my mum likes her house a very certain way, as often people do when they're at a certain stage in life, and everything. Like she irons boxers and handkerchiefs, and they just had these boxes everywhere. So like she'd be like, never mind getting rid of my old school stuff, she'd be like, the boxes. And so when I saw, I suppose, the impact that I was having by sharing information about other brands, she was like, could you just mention the Mitt and see what happens? So I spoke to who I was working with at the time. They were very supportive. They said yes. And so I started speaking about the Mitt, and we sold like, I don't need Mama. Mama used to take everything by shorthand. She like shorthand. I don't know what shorthand is.
No, well, I
don't need retinol just yet. But if you do know what shorthand is, you need SPF and retinol. But she used to document it all by shorthand. So sorry, the point of the story with that is, we sold like 10 to 15,000 Mitts in like a month through. How was it we sold it back then? Was it? I don't think it was even Facebook. I can't remember how we sold it, because I didn't have a website. Yeah. And then like Macaulay's would ring, and Cloud 10 rang, and trying to think, up in Donegal, oh my goodness, they're amazing stock as the bars. McElhenny's rang, and CH rang, who I still adore. Did an event for them on Saturday. Adore Kevin. Like adore.
Amazing.
Yeah, just amazing stock. It's like the Macaulay's vibe, like they just support you. Anyway, they started stocking it. And then when I went to Kevin on Saturday, Mom was like, don't forget to tell Kevin I said hi. I'm like, Mommy, Kevin has never met you. But like she feels like she knows him because she did the originals. But yeah, we sold that many Mitts in a short space of time that I was like, oh God, maybe we do have something here. Maybe this is the better time. But like that, had sat with my parents, was like, Daddy was quite business savvy. So, this is how much you need to buy it for, to sell it for, the middle. So it was just rallying. And it did really well. And then Mommy and Daddy had just retired, like literally just retired. And then Daddy came up to me and he's like, this isn't healthy for your mom. It's too much between boxes going in and out to the and then ordering more and then taking them in from the port, and it was just too much. And I was working full time, and then obviously they used to mind Matthew. So Matthew used to cycle up and down to the post office. Little chancy though, right? She'd be like, Mom, I did 5 runs this week or whatever it would be. And he'd be like, think I need a bit more, like a few more bob.
Pocket
and I'm like,
money.
oh, you've got a house over your head. Because in the meantime, what I didn't say is we did get our house.
You got your
that
house.
was the house. So that's the cleanse off midway, and then the cleanse off mid led into the skin nerd, because again, chatting to people, learning, wanting, and at that stage, you remember this, skincare was very much you use brand A or you use brand B.
Yeah.
You didn't really interchange, and I just didn't fully agree, because I could see, having worked at so many brands, that this brand excelled at that and perhaps this brand excelled at another ingredient. So what if I could give you a little bit of it all? And it just people were like freaked out by it at the start, definitely. But I loved the fact it was unbiased, and the skin nerd did, Jesus, thankfully so well. And then as the skin nerd started, I decided to start Skin Ingredients. So now I'm not doing any more businesses for a while.
Yes.
I'm done. Yeah.
No, that won't work. That won't work.
No, but I want to focus on, the skin nerd does so well. But if the Skin Ingredients, it's just been, I'm proud of what it has done, but I just need to put my time and energy into it. There's a bit more to be done before anything
And you
else.
have so much, obviously you're getting married very soon. So you were with your boyfriend for a decade or so. You single for a long time, or?
Yeah, a couple of years. And then I was with like different people at different stages throughout, say, a 5-year period, where I definitely explored my sexuality. So I'd been with men my whole life, never contemplated any other gender.
Yeah.
And then somebody took a huge interest in someone. That was a huge revelation. It's like, oh, sorry, what is this feeling? Because I'd only ever applied a feeling of fancying someone to a boy. I never thought about applying it to a girl.
Yeah.
That was years of counselling, I'll tell you. that was like, woo, here's my money, take me. But it really was. I had to go like, am I having a midlife crisis, or did I just not know my sexuality my whole life?
The application of fancying. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how we fancy somebody. And it is strange when you think, the fancying of someone is fancying of someone, not a specific sex or... Yeah. So did you know when you first met your partner?
So the girl I'm with now, that's terrible, the person that's going to become my wife. So Jill, we met at a work event. She wasn't single at the time, I don't think. And we actually ironically met at a work event talking about female empowerment and women in business. She owns her own amazing business. It's a clothing and apparel and more the art side of life, to be honest. Insane illustrator, incredible. And then so her name's Jill and her business partner is Jill, so they're called Jill and Jill, and it's explosive art, Dolly Parton. It's just mad. Our house is basically
Jill very well. I didn't know Jill was your partner.
Yeah.
Oh, that's mad.
And I was like, which Jill? I'm like, J Jill, blonde one.
J Jill, not the G Jill.
J Jill. But yeah, so we met. We were on a panel together, and we had to take each other's numbers because I was like, show me some of those photos, whatever. And then, as often people do, she creeped into the old WhatsApps and she asked all the skin questions. She was like, so should I use Solly Cleanse, this is my own brand Skin Ingredients, or should I be using Solly Cleanse is insane for spots. So I was kind of voice noting her back and forth, thinking nothing of it. Yeah. Then she came to just I don't have many friends that own their own businesses. So she was someone that I'd say, we just started chatting, did you go to that event, or, just that, literally that back and forth. And then her mom has read my books, and her mom had listened to me on radio and TV. So she's like, oh, my mom loves you, just little things back and forth. Yeah. And then in January the following year, she messaged me to say she's gone on holidays with her husband, and my stomach just went, Ph-tum. And I was like, oh, have a lovely time. Wear your SPF. Whatever. And she was like, oh, I didn't realise that you had a husband. I was like, oh, no, my work husband. We toured together for 10 years on the road. And I was like, oh, that's fine. And I was like, sorry, I thought you were gay. And she's like, no, I am. And I was like, okay. So then that was kind of the start of it, genuinely. Yeah. And then we just chatted and chatted and chatted.
I have to ask, people are going to go, she can ask that question. But what do your friends say when you go, do you know what I mean? Look, I'm 52 and lots of my friends have decided to move in different directions over the years. And I always ask them, when did you realise that it just became about people and not about the sex of the person?
Yeah. So I'm with Jill. We're together 4 years. I had been single for 5 years prior and had really struggled with my sexuality. Not so much I don't want to be gay or I don't want to be bi. I wasn't that as much as how did I not know this by now? Yeah. How did I get to 30, rare a human for a decade, and again, back to the famous house, save for the house, work on my career, be around beautiful humans all the time and not go, God, I wonder. Like there was nothing. So I feel like it was just this big ton of bricks going, doof. And then I was like, what the hell is this? And so I found that really hard. And when I look back on journals that I have from that time, I just didn't trust anything about myself. So I was like, if I didn't know this about myself, what else do I not know? Am I not a kind person? Am I not what else? So that was my biggest counselling piece. Which like counselling is just because like I just think everyone should go because we all have a brain and we all need to figure things out. But you might have a different thought as a life coach, do you?
No, not at all, actually. I find people quite secretive about their counsellors. So I'll chat to someone and I'll be like, God, your counsellor sounds amazing. Can I have their number? Yeah. Oh, I don't know if they'd be suitable for you, Sean. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, they're not going to tell me about you. Do you know what I mean? I think counselling is amazing, and quite often as a coach, people come to me and halfway through I go, look, we have to stop because I'm not a counsellor.
Okay.
And we're venturing into that. There's definitely boundaries there. But I just think that's amazing. And I think it's amazing how, you questioned yourself, you looked into it.
And I had to explore. And I had such a good friend that lived nearby and I'd be like, I'm going out on a date now. And he'd be like, is it a boy or what gender are we doing? And I'm like, oh, so yeah. But I found it really difficult. And I did a tour recently with BeBelle tour. Sounds like I was a musician. I was doing events with BeBelle Vulva recently with Laura Dowling, who I adore. Amazing. Yeah, she really is. And there's a question that seems to be a theme, and you can even see it in our confession boxes. People that tend to query their sexuality, and this is my opinion. I have no facts or data, but I believe growing up there were some men in the media that were gay. I didn't know anybody in my personal life that was. The first that I can remember, the first gay woman or lesbian that I was aware of was Ellen DeGeneres, and I just didn't relate to her. I think she's hilarious.
Yes.
But I didn't relate to her. And you hear people say, I need to feel represented. I just wonder, because some people just know from the second they're alive that they're gay, right? I didn't. And I just think conditioning and things around me and then having Matt and but I really, when I look back now, there's moments in my life that I can say, oh, I was curious, but I didn't apply it to that gender. Whereas, let's say it was something in school. Had I was in an all girls school, had I been in a boys' school and I had those feelings for a boy, I would have known that I liked them. I would have told my friends, oh, I think I fancy him and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But because it was a girl, I generally just thought I really was intrigued by them and I admired them and I wanted to be their friend. I wanted to be their best friend, but I had to play it cool because I knew that but when I look back, that would have, if I just changed the gender in that scenario, at that year, at that stage of my life, with what I knew, I would have said I fancy them. So I think that, yeah. So poor Matt hears all these conversations now. So I'm like, what do you think? And what way? And do you dwell? And I just think the world, thankfully, has evolved so much that you talk about it so openly now, whereas it just wasn't quite like that. Nobody's fault. It was just the world we lived in.
And I think I was really fortunate to grow up in London because it was more like that.
Yeah, a bit more liberal, yeah.
Yeah. I had always had lesbian friends, gay friends.
Yeah.
Our religious education was not Catholicism, it was all religions. And just grew up in a really sort of multicultural, exciting, always learning.
Yeah. But you're just you. You're encouraged to be you. But I had an operation recently and I went into the hospital and Jill and I aren't married yet, but we're engaged or whatever. But legally, there's no connection, I suppose. And so they're next of kin. So I wrote fiance, wrote her name down. They're like, oh no, sorry, that's not your next of kin. And I was like, When I had been in relationships with that gentleman in the past for the 10 years, I put him down all the time, not a bother. So you do come across still in this day and age, 2024, that some people don't find it as easy. So I love going to London. I love going places where no one looks at you if you hold hands. Whereas sometimes here still people, I think it's that they don't know how to behave. So they find it interesting, so they watch, but then that can ultimately make you feel a little bit more uncomfortable perhaps.
I think so. I think doing me, don't watch, just ask the question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I always try and put myself in a child's body then, you know,
Okay.
because like a 4-year-old just say, what are you up to?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Open.
Yeah, just be completely open. And I think that's such a nice trait.
Yeah. We lose it though. I think that's what we were saying before we came on air. I think that there's a lot of, like, and I know you said you didn't grow up in Ireland, but I do feel that you're living here long enough, you're Irish, right? So there's so much politeness that we have to give to the other person that sometimes we're not mindful of our own boundaries. So it's probably not the best example, but like if you get a hair blow dry they don't like, you'd be like, oh God, no, I like it so much, I love it. But like, you'd never go, very rarely would you go, just straighten that out. You go back to the car and you tell about 10,000 people that you didn't like it. Who's that? Who's winning? It's so unfair. So I do think that we have so many polite pieces of ways of behaving on this beautiful island of ours. Whereas when you go to London and you bump into someone, you don't say sorry, right? Because if you're saying sorry every second, you just might say sorry the whole way time you walk. It's so busy. But what I've definitely noticed is that I think we're so polite that we actually end up sometimes causing more offence.
And I think as well, we affect ourselves. So I don't think it's rude to say to somebody, would you mind just recurling that piece of hair? Because I don't actually like it.
Yeah.
Or could you take that curvy grip out there? Because you leave and you've upset yourself. You haven't upset the person and they could have fixed it in 2 seconds.
You don't give them the chance.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And they would be so much more delighted if you left feeling fabulous about yourself. You know, my husband is a very Irish, polite, laid back person. Okay. And when we go for a meal, if I don't like it, I will say, look, can I just ask a question? Would it be possible if I can just change that or whatever? And any time I say anything, it's just like, cringing. Yeah. And I'm like, stop, because I will always do my best by people. I work in service. I will always make sure that somebody has 100% of my attention and time. And that's all I want back. So I'm not asking for wow or anything. I just want to have something that I like.
It goes back to how we started. A lot of this is the customer care piece means so much to me. And so I do believe that you can give feedback, but I actually think you're respecting the person more. Say it's in a restaurant and you're like, as you said, could I think you're respecting them because you're giving your version of honesty. Yeah. Whereas if you're like, oh, yeah, no, I'll thanks, so it's low to 5-star. But I'm going to tell everyone in my WhatsApp group, like, oh, no, I wasn't a big fan of. But that's not, that's just your taste. But, so I do think that they say kindness is clarity, but I think you have to figure out what the kindness is and it's how you deliver something. So, but you'd ask me about how did I figure it out. I met one person that took me by complete intrigue and people around me said eventually, like, you know, you fancy her, like you like her. And I was like, no, you're crazy. Not just crazy because I hadn't seen her for myself.
Yeah.
And that was the whole like, oh God, what else do I not know about me? But thankfully, like with everything, I think I said to you earlier, I've had a few setbacks in terms of different organs of my body this year. They've actually all taught me. Like say, for example, I broke my foot and then I had tendonitis and whatever else. But I've actually figured out that I need to do physio for my hips, right? But I hadn't broke my foot. I would never have gone to physio. I'd never figured out that in the future I'd probably have this issue. So I do try when it's not like a fake try. Because sometimes I think you convince yourself and it's just, you know, survival mode. Yeah. But, you know, if I hadn't have met her and then had all these conversations, I'm literally the happiest I've ever been. Like, obviously happy is like a state and it's like transient. But like, I'm happy in my skin. Like, ironic, right? And that was the really hard part of figuring out my sexuality was just before the skin nerd. And so people are like, do you want to bring a +1? I'm like, nope. Because I didn't know where I was going in my world. And I would talk about being honest and open and like frank conversations and here's ingredients that work. And then I'd go home and hide the fact that I was in a relationship with a woman at the time. Okay. But I wasn't okay with myself. So if you're not okay with yourself, how the hell can you be okay with anybody else? Really?
Yeah. No, you can't do it.
I don't think so.
And I think those times when you feel uncomfortable in your skin, then you need to take that time for yourself. Yeah. It's super, super important.
I don't know if you'll like this as a coach or not, so tell me what you think. So I said I was going to date myself for a while because I often think that you and I could meet, right? And I'll go home and say, I met Jan today and she's A, B, C, D. And you could say the same about me, but sometimes we actually don't know ourselves, not our performance selves, but ourselves alone. So I decided that I wanted to date myself, which my friends to this day, I'm sure it'll be brought up on the hen. Like, I'm sure it'll be something that they'll be like, do you remember that time? You thought this was a great idea. But I really did.
No, I think it's important.
And I actually loved it because I also think sometimes people can go from relationship to relationship to relationship and you bring everything with you. I'm not saying it's perfect by the time you give yourself the space, but we all deserve to have space for ourselves. So that was probably one of the most important things I did, was just go, no, I did, like, no.
And
it's
you're
just a
good.
hard
Do you
no.
like your own company?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love people. I love vibing. I love energy. But even at a party, my friends know, and like Jill's like, oh yeah, no, she's grand. She's just gone to have her own time. Like, I'll go in the middle of a really busy, because I think I give so much energy that I then have to go and go, whoo. Yeah, a little bit of like calm. Yeah. And then back out again. So it's not that the out is insincere. It is actually who I am. But it gets so, like, I get so excitable. I have to just go and go, whoo. Like, even today, we met each other in the bathroom. Like, on the way to the bathroom. And I'm like, this is actually just my time. If you could just leave. Like, it's just calming myself.
Yes. Yeah. No.
To be present when I'm back, I suppose.
Yeah. I'm like the same. I'm like that chihuahua, and then you'll find me in a little round bed in the corner, just going,
do you chase
take
your
a
tail?
breath. Yeah. All the time. All the time. Chasing
what
my
a tail it is.
But, and so I suppose you've got your hen in a few weeks. Yeah. When are you getting married?
September. So a little bit to go.
Abroad or here?
No, it's here.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's smashing.
Yeah, so my hen is abroad. Like, you couldn't get more opposite, right? So when people say, in a same-sex relationship, it must be lovely because you share clothes and you do everything together. I'm like, so Jill is going to a beautiful Wicklow house where they're getting a sommelier and they're going to have a beautiful chef, and it's all cooked organic, and it's just really, like, you know, beautiful and zen. And I'm going to see Calvin Harris in Ibiza. Like, you couldn't get, like, chalk and cheese, yin and yang.
I kind of want to go to them both, though, because I love both of those things. It's all about balance.
Just love energy. Yeah, just love the vibes. And yeah, can't wait for it. Feel very lucky.
No, and I think I don't believe in luck. I believe we create what we get.
That's very true.
Because, you know, you worked really hard and you deserve everything that you have. What's next? What's
next? God, in a personal sense, definitely the wedding is a big part. And people say to me, like, why are you getting married? I'm like, because it's a privilege in Ireland. Not all countries allow for two females to get married. Also, yeah, that's kind of the main reason. And then also, because Daddy died so unexpectedly, the last time I've actually had all of my family members and friends together was at a time of his funeral. And so it wasn't obviously a happy time. And so I just want to have, like, I can't wait. You know what I actually can't wait for is to look out and, like, I actually get emotional thinking about it. And I do this driving in the car when I'm singing along to all the wedding songs. Like, let's go. Get all your tears out now. But I can't wait to see a sea of people that we all love for different reasons. And every single person in that room, either directly or indirectly, had some impact on our lives, like myself and Matt, and then obviously Jill as well. I just think that'll be I think I'll need a few minutes upstairs to compose myself from that one.
You're choking me up thinking about it, because I think that's what the absolutely gorgeous thing about a wedding is all those people that made an impact are in one room.
Yeah, I actually got goosebumps. So it is.
No,
I think it's very special.
It would be beautiful. And do you know what? I like being married.
Do you?
Like, people often say to me, why'd you get married? I never thought you were very independent. I like being married.
Do you?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Even last night, Jill and I went for a walk, and we were talking about it, interestingly, not knowing what you're going to talk about today at all. So it wasn't in any way to do it today. And I was like, do you think that we need to be married? And she's like, we're so independent. It's funny though, because people always see us together. We work together an awful lot, like our projects will cross over or whatever. But we're both quite independent. What I'm really proud to have found, having met someone that little bit later in life, I feel, is that I knew who I was. I also knew who I wanted to be for somebody else. Whereas I was growing up going, oh, I want them to look like this. It was all about the other person. But I think I've eventually gone to, like, now who do I want to be and what do I want to look like in this relationship? And then she's so respectful of my boundaries. So she kind of does her day, I go do my day, and then we meet at night. And she's the kind of person that says, yeah, I had a good day. And I'm like, well, I woke at 7:01 and then I breathed twice. Like, I go into detail.
Jill would actually get on really well with my husband.
Really? There's always one in every relationship.
There always is. I said to him last night, I'll be down in a minute for a chat. And he was like, no, you're all right. I'm going to read the book. And I went, but I just want to talk. I just want to talk. And he was like, no, you're fine.
She said, it just really works.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's lovely. Well, look, I want to finish. I actually forgot the jar, so I had to bring and get the question.
Okay.
So you can pick a question. It's from previous guests. Pick a question, read it out loud, and we're going to answer it.
Alrighty. So, what's your favourite saying and why? Oh, God, such a good one. Oh, I got too many. Right, let me think about this. What is my favourite saying and why? I probably have one in work and one at home. So in work, it is perfection is the enemy of progression.
Love that.
Because you'll just never start anything, really. I do advise a good business plan, understanding what a marginal marketing plan is, though. Sidebar. But I feel that people often put things up and my team come out, I'm like, it's like a big Monday. And they're like, what is this analogy? I'm like, do you know the way you'd say,
Yes.
I'll start on Monday. I'm like, stop waiting for Mondays. Let's just
do it.
Let's try it now. Once it's, had a bit of thinking, don't get me wrong. And then at home, it's an element of what goes around comes around. It's a big believer in, like in every relationship, there's like takes two to tango. So like if we're best friends, you'll need me more sometimes and I give, but it'll come back. It's a two-way fold.
Yeah.
And I do massively believe that what you put out there, you do get back. Probably not how you might have wanted it at times.
Or when you want it at times, but it does
sometimes
happen.
It's late, but it does happen. And I don't really love the saying, it all happens for a reason, because sometimes I think people are at the height of grief and they're going through things that are just beyond my understanding even, that I don't think that's fair. But I think a lot of what happens in your life is a lesson that is for a reason, if you choose to see it, providing it's not, like the caveat is, it's not really serious, sad pieces.
No, it's beautiful.
What's yours?
2 years, one mouth.
Ooh. Well, I didn't use that in this podcast at all.
But,
I had two mouths, one ear.
No, but I love that. And it's one that I use at the club actually, is participation over pitching. And that's listening to people. Again, it's 2 years, one mouth. And if you listen more to people, you learn more and you can help them more. And I always believe if you give a little, it does come back. And sometimes it doesn't come back when you expect it or want it, but it's there. Like, I give this to you on my wedding day. And I do this with a lot of businesses that I work with when they're in partnership.
Okay.
I get them to write to each other a letter about what they bring to the table.
Yeah.
Because over time we learn so much from each other. Sometimes we might have a disagreement or an argument or a celebration.
Yeah.
And it's nice to open those letters. And so me and my husband wrote a letter to each other on our wedding day. And it's in a box and it's still under the bed at home.
That's
Nearly
really
opened it a couple of times during COVID when I was going to kill him. But in that box is a letter that we write to each other once a year.
You do it every year?
Every year. And then one day, maybe on our 10th anniversary or something like that, we might open them.
Oh, so you haven't read each other's letters. So you write it in that state at that moment in time.
Absolutely.
Jill and I, because we started dating at the start of COVID, couldn't see each other for the first 12 weeks. So we used to write each other letters every week. So we still have all those. I feel like it was like a nod towards courting. Like our parents would have said courting, because you got to fall in love with the person, not just the physicality of it. But we haven't read those letters in a long time. We said we'd like to do it on our honeymoon. So maybe that's something we can add into it.
Yeah. No, it's nice because they're not open. They're just sitting there. And
oh my God, that willpower is strong. I'll be like, I wonder what he was thinking the other day when he was...
As I said, nearly opened a couple of times. But listen, thank you so much. I wish you all the best. You're going to have the best wedding. Have a crazy hen. And I hope to speak to you very soon. So thank you for listening to this week's BeBelle podcast. Don't forget, you can find us on social media. If you've got any questions, then please don't hesitate to DM us at BeBelle_wellness. You can also find this on our YouTube channel, which is my YouTube channel, Sian Horn. And don't forget, the more people that subscribe, the better that we can make this pod. So don't forget, like and subscribe across all channels. And thank you.